Kinfolk, let us see what they talking about. Let's see what they talking about. Come here, pull up a chair, come over here to the round table where we appreciate that love, where we break it all down. Say why? We about to break bread right now. What up, Junior? So, just getting started. Oh, I know it's you. Appreciate you popping through. But we gonna tap into some information about how when people act a certain way, don't let it make you change up and start acting ugly, you feel me? Don't let it make you turn into something that you never planned on being. We're gonna also participate with this weather. We out here in the elements. Appreciate them likes. In 1 second, got somebody. Nah, I have to check with her later. We ain't gonna be able to do that today. Everybody sending me invites right now. Trying to go live with y'all, boy. But maybe another time. Not right now. But I need to share the live out too. Give me a second to do so. And of course, you allow for people to make you change up your ways and start acting funny right along with them. Gotta suffer the consequences of your actions. We all done heard about karma, but karma don't always gotta be bad. You can put out some karma that would be good for you. You know what I'm saying? You can put some karma out here that'll be good for you or progressive towards the direction you say you want to go into. In that sense, you know how a lot of us say, man, if I could, I'd do this, and this. Okay, well, in order to get in those directions or put yourself in motion for that, it's going to be in your best interest to make sure you're doing things that is on that way. Like, if you know such and such street lead to the destination that you're trying to get to, it's going to be in your best interest to go down that street. Now, you tell me you trying to get to 3rd Street, and instead of you going the direction of 3rd Street, you go the direction of 5th Street. I don't feel like you're selling me a dream. I'm gonna feel like you might be selling me a dream. What's up with it, Keela? Good to see you, love. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me. I want to make sure we coming through clearly. Is that random? Appreciate you tapping in. I'm gonna try to pay attention to the signal, make sure everything's straight, so we can get this information out. Again, this topic today, it's a touchy little topic for most people, because a lot of times when people act certain ways with us, we want to lash out. We want to make sure they know we ain't the one to play with. We ain't gonna be played with, things of that nature. But I gotta remind you, meaning the reflections of myself that appear in the vessels that appear as everybody else. Every action you take, there will be a reaction or, countermeasures to, let you know that what you're doing isn't going unnoticed. And if you know that, you know, it might be in our best interest, Maria, to make sure that when we doing things, we know like the predictable consequences that could be a result of the actions that we taking. So, you know, I heard it said, if you don't pay attention, butterfly, to how you treat people in this life, that's fine. When you pass away, you feel me? That's all you'll have left to feel, you know? They say if you ever want to know what transcending or leaving this life feel like, it's having to live with all the effects that you had on other people, and to the point that you realize kindness is all that truly matters, you know? Kindness is all that truly matters. So it'll be in your best interest to be kind to others. It'll be in your best interest to think kind things of yourself. To the point that whatever you think, that's where your energy goes. You know, that's why you got a lot of these platforms, a lot of different products. They're catering to these instincts. They're catering to your senses in a way that they know once they get your attention, Larissa, they know once they get your attention how to direct you where they want you to go. So if I can get this on the screen, then I know it's a good chance at some point you're going to be like, darn, I wonder where I can get some of them gloves, or wonder where I can get that hoodie, or da-da-da-da. So the things that they put in front of you, it's intentional. My whole goal with this platform is to put information in front of you guys, in front of myself, that will remind me when I lose sight of what's important in life. If you would participate with me, if you're getting anything from this talk, or if you enjoy just reflective conversation, if you could tap the screen so the algorithm knows that you appreciate this type of conversation. Right now, we still technically in the intro. You know, the conversation again is going to be about not letting the actions of other people affect you in a way that will cause adverse effects in your life going forward. You know what I mean? I could tell you of a few situations that I'm facing right now. You know what I'm saying? Right in my face, to the point that I'm having to detach myself from old feelings, from old responses that I used to give in the face of these perceived obstacles, which are really just opportunities, right? For me to practice living, being in the way that I said I would be should XYZ come my direction. Should XYZ come towards me. You know what I'm saying? As I'm heading to the park that I'm at now, there was an individual that I was always, you know, respectful with. I always had cool interactions. Some of those interactions even borderline, you know, brotherhood, you feel me? Yet, upon certain changes in my life and relationships, realized that we both interacted with a similar person, or the same person. Let me not, you know what I'm saying, be that vague, but the same person. And from there, it seemed like there was a distance drawn. When this person would see me and would normally acknowledge my presence, or would normally go out their way to speak, because our interactions have always been good and proper, you feel me? Once realizing this similarity that we have, it's like it was an avoidance, you know. Now mind you, I never had a clue, you know what I'm saying, until I was already enthralled in the relationship, nor did it change my desire to be, because, you know, there's different ways in which certain things might come about that will allow for you to be like, you know what, that's kind of messy, or that's something I don't want to be involved in. But I can't Man, seriously, I can't undo what destiny already has in store. I think my friend is back. Um, so with that being said, yes, you are. What's up? Come on now. Um, so as destiny might have it, I always said, should I get the opportunity to actually, speak or interact with said person, I'm not going to avoid it. I'm actually going to make it a point to speak like normal, address the person as normal. Sometimes you might wonder, like, is this person noticing what I'm noticing? Or am I tripping? Like maybe this person really ain't changing up. I'm just, thinking too far into it type thing. You feel me? I just seen a red tail hawk, but and we'll get into that one day if you want to know what that means. But up on running across said person, I spoke, and it was almost like a knee-jerk reaction, so to speak. Because normally the person would speak, you feel me? And it was, always good, you know what I'm saying? To the point that, how sometimes people show things they ain't even trying to show or recognize they showing, you feel me? I felt that energy, a reluctancy, you know what I'm saying? But normal interaction took hold, you know what I mean? To the point the interaction was still, not nothing that would reveal too much. But again, this is me showing in real time how you would be better served not allowing for the actions of others or the perceived actions of others to cause you to act in ways that would be unfavorable towards your growth going forward. As I do have the will to interact with my brothers and my sisters in favorable conditions to where upon me being around them, it adds to their existence, not take away. It uplifts, not bring down, So I'm grateful that I was able to hold to that. I was able to keep said promise with myself and not act in ways that aren't becoming to the ways that I seek to be, Yeah. But also, often just like a lot of you guys, I get on social media and prepare to leave, messages of encouragement. And right as I'm getting on, I immediately see, the first post that appears on my streamline. And a lot of times oftentimes I would say, it's a post of, hey, if you thought you was mad before, you really gonna be mad. People living, or us, because y'all ain't alone in this. Us living our lives with the concerns of people who appear to not mean us well. I'm reminded of a great being who I interacted with that told me some people have a soul contract to do certain things, right? And I take it even further. They have agreed to have a certain experience. Appreciate you, New Moon, tapping that screen. Have agreed to have a certain experience without necessarily understanding how it would affect you. Let's say something simple, not even people, right? Let's say, hearing the birds sing, right? It affects you in such a way that inspires you to go throughout the day as you recognize even the birds are out here handling their business, doing their job for the day. I appreciate that follow, love. And so you are inspired by the songs that they sing. Likewise, be just as inspired when, you know, it appears, right, that people are causing you to have a certain level of adversity. Because once you begin to be grateful for this, it's like once you get to a point that you're far removed from always seeing things as though people are intentionally doing things to hurt you, you will begin to see that they really ain't thinking about you, nor are they thinking about themselves, in the sense of how what they do to you will affect their growth going forward, their interactions with life. As sure as they put certain things in your way, whether intentionally or unintentionally, there would be things that would be put in their way, intentionally or unintentionally. Not to mention, you begin to see it as though these things are for your good. You know, you be able to be like, you know what, I'm kind of glad such and such said that. And now that I'm at home thinking about what just happened and how I didn't respond to it or didn't do things that I would have regretted, now I'm able to say I actually have grown or I actually have changed. But should you have not had that opportunity, you would never know whether or not you have changed or whatever. Because, you know, we always hear people talk about, man, when I get this amount of money, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. When I get this, we going to go do this. Then it come time, they get that money, things come up, things get put in the way. And I'm intentionally doing these air quotes because, believe it or not, there's always things that are coming up. There is always the appearance of things getting put in the way. But even these things that are coming up and the things that are getting put in the way are actually opportunities for you to test out the design or the model that you had planned, the intentions that you said you was going to set forth, should you be granted a tool or an opportunity to do so. And now here it is, to add to your story, you feel me? To add to your story, you was given a few key opponents or proponents to make your story look just that much, you know what I'm saying, greater. Like, you know, we love the underdog stories because what? New Moon. Hey, it's the things that they facing that make us feel like, you know what, I can identify with that, as well as I can appreciate that they really were persistent. They exacted resilience, you know. Oftentimes we make deals, right, with these perceived limitations in our lives, the perceived limitations that we have of ourselves. Like, we'll sit there and say, man, you know, I can't think under pressure. Or we'll say, you know, I can't control myself once I get angry. At that point, you're giving yourself limitations. You're excusing yourself from embodying your potential. See how I flipped that? You see what I'm saying? You go from giving yourself limitations to, you know what, I'm gonna give myself potentials. That's how you feel though? I'm gonna give myself potentials, man. Okay, ancestors, love y'all much, man. This red tail hawk again has made itself apparent, you know what I'm saying? So I gotta acknowledge when the sacrifices that are being made are received. You know, I tell people all the time, be confirmed by your existence. Not worrying about the validation of others, you feel me? But again, going from looking at yourself as having limitations to embodying your potential. I'm hearing this song in my head that I used to hear all the time as a kid, they would say, it's such a wonderful world. Such a wonderful world. Right now, you know, we have the ability to reason, even with the deals that we once made with ourselves of lack or limitations or anything that would stop us from getting to where we were meant to be. You know, and that's a part of purpose, you know what I'm saying? Like, once you find purpose, you lose the desire to be scrolling and watching other people fulfilling their purpose. When you do see people that are a part of the same purpose that you appreciate, you will participate in such a way to make your presence known. Just like you see New Moon at the bottom of the screen, tapping the screen. Like, oh, nah, I'm part of that. I'm part of that. But too often we find ourselves participating in things that aren't becoming of us, and we scrolling and reading every little post that was made of the negative of, man, when I get these income texts, man, I'm finna stun on them more. When I get this little windfall, I'm finna hurt some feelings out here. Again, as we talked about yesterday, I don't have to hate anybody to love myself. I don't have to have any ill wishes for anybody in order to progress myself. And if you do notice that you're moving in that sense, guess what? You're gonna lose steam at some point. You know why? Because you're doing it for other people. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. You feel me? You're doing it for the wrong reasons. Not to mention, what you gonna do when you find out they don't even care? What you gonna do when you find out they don't even care? And how can you ever find out if they gave a darn or if they seen it? Just saying, let's just flip the game this way. When you feel like people are doing things to hurt you, right? When you get to the point that you no longer feel the need to validate what others are trying to do to you, when you no longer, what's up with the Omnidora? You no longer feel the need to acknowledge things in a way that is like, you know what, that was meant to stop me. Oh, Lord. Okay, we back. You no longer acknowledge things in a way that says, like, darn, that was meant to stop me. That right there came to stifle my growth. Instead, you say, you know what, that right there came to make me stronger. That right there came to give me, you know what I'm saying, a test run and recognizing, darn, hold on, I really am making progress. You know, check out the video we posted recently where it said, man, you know, some things is changing for you. What's up, Gina? When it seemed like even the people that could count on you call themselves counting you out. Appreciate that, Star. You know what I'm saying? Take a star to know a star. And that is what you are. You know, here it is. I mean, it seemed like all is lost. Appreciate that, love. Not at the moment, love. But who knows what the future has in store. When it seems like all is lost, right? There's so much more to be gained from you being able to tap in and recognize that you are one with the all. I'm reminded that this existence is consistent of an all-knowing energy, meaning you're one with the energy that brought all into being. You feel me? You're one with the energy that brought all into being, right? To the point that you chose to have this experience of short-term memory lapse. You feel me? And notice I said short-term because you could always keep reminding yourself for the greatness that is you. You could always, you feel me? I'm out here getting to it because it's mine and it's yours as well. You could always remember, just like you remember the regrets, just like you remember the resentment. You know what I mean? that you have towards what others did to you or what you felt like others did to you. Instead, you can remember that you are one with the all in all, the energy that's in all, you feel me? And remember that, hey, you know, you wanted to know what it feel like to be surprised. That's why you had this experience in mind. That's why you created this life of yours. That's why you chose to come here. Now, choose to surprise yourself with what is possible when you tap in to that knowing. When you remember what you didn't know you forgot. When you remember what you didn't know you forgot. Appreciate you sharing the live, love. Y'all could, if you would, tap that screen, share the live, drop some comments, interact, you know what I mean? Remember what you didn't know you forgot. I appreciate you, Omnidor. If you could share the live on your way out, appreciate you sharing your essence. That is enough. You know what I'm talking about? As you are worthy of the abundance that is this life. Otherwise, you wouldn't exist. You don't have to do anything to be worthy. Meaning we are all experiencing this greatness, this abundance. But only you can allow for yourself to open your eyes to it. Only you can allow for yourself to accept it and claim it in a way that you are grateful for all that is. I know it sounds crazy. Who the hell finna be accepting the haters? Who the hell finna be accepting people that want to take us out? Tell you right now, they going if you worrying about them, you feel me, to the point that you let them affect your mood, they have control over you. They have control over you. Whoever controls your mood, whoever dictates how you see you. What's up with it, cuzzo? What's up, Joshua? Whoever dictates how you see yourself has control over you. But when you realize, hey, I can choose how I'm gonna feel about this, how I'm gonna feel about that, you begin to take back your power. And once you begin to take back your power, you begin to realize that you are all powerful. You are all powerful. And at that point, now you can intentionalize how you go into things. I never said things was gonna stop happening. I never said that you won't feel no pain, you won't shed no tears. But I will tell you this, you will get stronger for whatever appears. What's up with it, intuitive? Whatever appears. This is an opportunity. Anytime so-called adversity arises, it's an opportunity for you to do what you said you was gonna do should you have the opportunity. And when we start looking at what they used to say, if I had a dollar for every time I had a problem or something like that, if I had basically, like, if you start looking at each problem, right, as an opportunity to rise to the occasion, to effectively grow yourself, you will notice that you are rich. You are rich. I know some people that used to play sports, right, and they wish they was just young enough to still do it. You know what I mean? But that's because that's the only opportunity that they recognize. You feel me? Everything that you see, even this hoodie, you know, this cap, these gloves, somebody seen a problem, right? And decided to create a solution for it. Somebody seen a problem and decided to create a solution for it. Now here it is, you're seeing your problems and you keep on making it through your problems, but ain't sharing your solution going forward. And you think it's something that you're waiting on that's causing you not to get this bread, not to get this abundance that keeps smacking you in the face. How many of us know people that are rich, you know what I'm saying, monetarily because they experienced some physical harm or somebody they love transcended? You see what I'm saying? Man, look, you got to make your life into a fail-proof system. And I ain't saying literally you got to, but this is the opportunity that keep knocking at your door. Do, 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 do. What's that? The fuck is that? Opportunity? That problem that keep hitting you? What's that? Do, 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 do. Opportunity? No, I feel you. I feel you. One thing I'm coming to realize though, intuitive, the work is being done within us. We just gotta acknowledge it. That's why people say you can manifest things. That's why people say that the moment you change your mind frame, these things will appear. You know what I'm saying? Because it's already here. All possibilities are. Look, hey, if you ain't getting it, I'm getting it. You feel me? And when y'all see the things that's happening in my life, you feel me, on the level that you respect, because that's what it be a lot of times, you know. A lot of folks don't respect you till you get the things that they respect. Like, I could be doing music or making all kind of beautiful art, but until the rest of the world, you feel me, until the rest of the world say, man, hey, that's the greatest artist I've ever seen. That's the greatest being that ever, you know. In 1 second. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all can still hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you can still hear me. Until people come in the room. Okay, love. Appreciate you. Until people come in the room and they see how the rest of the world is gravitating towards you. See, we got this uncanny ability to adapt to anything. Do you hear me? We got this uncanny ability to adapt to anything. And for a lot of us, we've been adapting so fast that we become ungrateful for the things that we're able to interface with on a daily basis. Sometimes we got a blessing sitting right up under our nose. Sometimes we have people that we live in a house with every day. People that's constantly, you know, catering to us. People that's constantly laying down their lives for us. People's presence that represent the sacrifice that they're willing to make for us. But since we had this uncanny ability to adapt, you feel me? I could be wrong, but perhaps we just said, you know what? That's all right. I want more. I want more. I want more. But here it is. If any of us was dealing with people that we're trying to do for, or we care about, that just was like, that's all right, but I want more. That's all right, but I want more. At some point, you would stop doing for those folks because you feel like they do not appreciate what you're doing for them. But again, like the topic said in the beginning, hey, for one, if you want to learn how to stop worrying about how other people feel about your sacrifices, your offerings, what you intentionalize to bring to the lives of others, don't do it for them. Forgiveness is not for the other person, but it's for you. Because if you keep holding on to that resentment, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to pass away. I'm gonna say that again. Resentment, holding a grudge, is like drinking poison and expecting for the other person to pass away. And if you don't believe me, do the studies or look up the studies on what's up with it, friend. Do the studies on how people are affected or infected physically by the things that they harbor spiritually. How being angry releases certain salts in the body. This might equate for high blood pressure. How trauma affects how you breathe. And based on your breathing patterns, it can change up your heart rate. Oh, Lord. Quit playing with me. Quit playing with me. Because I ain't going to play with you. Anything that come through, I ain't going to withhold. You know, some people, they get these downloads or they get information, bright ideas, and they use it against you. You know what I'm saying? My big mom used to always say, you know, one of the first things they say in the Bible is my people die for the lack of knowledge. Yesterday, we talked about seeking what? Seeking understanding. And once you gain that understanding, or that knowledge, understanding when to use that knowledge is considered wisdom. We ain't gonna get it just what you doing your homework for and you ain't gonna turn it in. When you're going through these obstacles in life, it's, hey, turn in. Stop looking out, turn in. Ain't nobody coming to save you. Ain't nobody coming to save you. I'm reminded of T'Challa daddy when he cried out to his daddy in his meditations, he said, son, why do you cry, basically? You feel me? If I have transcended and you do not know what to do in order to go forward, I have failed you. But in so many words, he's like, man, I already done showed you what to do. Quit calling on me. Quit calling on me. What's up with Aquila? When I've shown you what to do. You know, again, I lay these things out. I work out my problems in front of the world. You know, some people work out physically in front of the world. I do that too. But I'm working out this spirit. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful in front of you guys. So when I forget, I can be reminded by the presence of others who I've influenced or who have been affected by my presence. Believe it or not, we all influence each other even if you're not around long enough to notice it. And don't do it, once again, just so others can acknowledge you. Because I promise you, you will be let down by the way that they will show up as though they always knew it. They will give the acknowledgement to other people that are associated more closely to them. Ooh, they will listen to everybody but you. Now, granted, you know, that little tidbit, you know what I'm talking about? They used to say, don't feed your pearls to swine, or don't get so caught up to where you intertwine. Whew. You intertwine with things that are beneath you. And I'm not saying this to tell you to run from these people or run from these occasions where you see that you're not being appreciated. Your energy is not being appreciated, but recognize what you're dealing with. If you're trying to help somebody, right, and you do not understand what they're dealing with, you could be, man, bleeding in the water all day, but you don't understand they have rabies or something that causes them to not be able to absorb. See, a lot of us, you know, we always watch these movies where the point has to be over exaggerated, because for a lot of us, we so busy being distracted, we so overstimulated to the point that it has to be a hypertension. Sometimes we don't realize we're around folks that are possessed. Sometimes we don't realize what we're possessed with or what we possess. See, there's a difference between being possessed and what you possess. Exuding what you possess. You feel me? Or expressing what you possess. You know, at a certain point in time when I was trying to understand the what appeared to be so-called the opposite. You know, they called it the opposite sex, right? They had this little thing. What's up with it? Send a bun? They had this thing. What's up with it, love? Where they would talk about how there's a certain level of like dark manipulation that has to be played. You know, whereas you have people who are so used to people always acknowledging their presence, like in the, you know, women, they always say how women are always getting compliments, right? And so you have to do something to stand out. So ignoring women, so to speak, you feel me, was something that they basically was leading in the conversation to. And even going as far as to be somewhat mean, you know what I mean? Because men who are always thinking of themselves, always thinking of somebody else, right? Always catering to somebody else. And this go for women too. You know what I'm saying? I'm just using this example, right? So women who are always catering to certain men, right? Appreciate that love. They tend to get ignored. Now, mind you, remember, this is a result of people that are not present. You feel me? Pay attention to how people pay attention to themselves. If somebody is not present enough to understand what they're doing to themselves, it's darn near impossible for you to, you know, expect them to recognize what they're doing to anybody else. If anything, it's been normalized to them. You know, just like scrolling up and down social media, it begins to be normalized that, you know, hey, if you ain't paying my bills, or matter of fact, let's talk about that. You know, show you how normalization has changed. It used to be, if you're not paying my bills or making sure that I'm stable in life, I have no time for you, right? But just to show you how normalcy changed, and you have to be in tune. You have to turn in your homework. When you at home, do some self-reflecting. Turn in. Turn inward. Stop looking outward. But just to show, when you keep on looking outward, how they play with you, or how we get played, right? Whew. Used to be, if you didn't care about my stability or my existence, people didn't have time for you. But now, to show you how the normalization changes and things get recalled if you keep on worrying about what other people thinking and getting caught up in that. Now is, if you too busy paying all my bills and catering to me, you consider the simp. Can I get some taps on the screen if y'all heard that too? Or y'all have seen these posts where if you cater to a man, you're considered a pick-me. No, mind you, I know how it feels to feel like you've been good to the wrong person. But recognize when you're on an assignment. See, for some of us, we gotta be the one that appeared to have gotten away. Remember I told y'all earlier, do not run. Do not run from these interactions, right? But continue to raise your vibrations. Continue to feed yourself things that are of high vibration. Continue to think highly of yourself. Continue to focus on building yourself up to the point that you have an overflow of love and abundance. You recognize the overflow of love and abundance, so much so that you have an environment that you have created for yourself, that others that just come in your presence feel loved. See, there's a big difference. There's a big difference between that dark psychology that I was telling y'all about intentionally going out your way to be mean to other people. Now, I got to answer for myself for that. I appreciate that. Because I was wondering, like, darn, when do it get to a point that I find somebody who love me the way that I love unconditionally? Whether you have learned to love yourself enough to where you have an overflow that you can share with me or not, I'm continuously growing, which is a way of loving yourself, intentionally involving yourself in information, right? That will grow you. It's a form of love. It's a form of love. But again, you know, a lot of us have been taught ass backwards or butt backwards. You know what I'm saying? Ways about going about things. Because a lot of us are focused only on the destination. We're operating from the destination backwards. You feel me? We're watching the end of the movie and then trying to see how the rest gonna play out, trying to figure out how the rest gonna play out, and being shocked every time. You know, I love them movies that you know what I mean, you can't, it looked like it's gonna go one way, right? But then it turned out to be something totally different, because those type of movies open my mind to stop worrying. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, young king. To stop worrying about how things are going to play out, but to surrender myself to the flow. You know, I know I always got to throw a sports, you know what I'm saying, reference in here, but when I talk about sports, I'm talking about just movement, period. Appreciate that love, king. How you move in life, period, right? So you can tell people who are not in a zone, people who are not in tune with their star player enough, right? Because you'll come down on a fast break, you'll break down and take the ball between the leg, and they get off balance, get all discombobulated, right? Because they are only responding or reacting to what you're doing. Now I'm gonna say that in the flip for you to look at in reality. When you keep on, every time somebody do something, you keep operating as though you don't have the ball, as though you're waiting on them to take a shot, you're allowing for yourself to be off balance. When you don't spend time with yourself enough to where when ain't nobody else around, meaning you don't practice when it's not a game day, it's gonna show when it come game day. When you don't self-reflect, when you not going through nothing, when you go through something, we gonna see who in the zone and who not. Because you're going to be caught off balance and you're going to respond. Matter of fact, you're going to react. Because a response is a proper measure taken to resolve an issue. Shoot, and if you don't know how to be alone, like the guy was just saying, recognize that, bro, you could be in a room full of people, right? But you still alone. I'm going to say that again. You could be in a room full of people, but I need you to know that you still alone. Because nobody is at the same place in life at the same time. You might recognize the things that I'm saying, and it might make sense or metabolize to where you are in life. But they say a picture says 1,000 words because everybody's going to see it for what they see it for at the time. What it means to them, CC. I'm just saying. That's just how it go. It's a beautiful thing when you really recognize it, because then at that point you start to recognize that there's room for everybody. Everybody has a part to play that's uniquely yours. And nobody can play your part for you. You might identify with certain parts that people play and say, hey, I would like to have that effect. But guess what? When you say certain things like I'm talking right now, it affects the people. It affects the reflections of myself that are appearing in the bodies that you guys are in right now. You feel me? In the way that it does, because I have a certain level of conviction because what I've been through. What I've allowed for myself to recognize about the importance of the things that I've been through. What I have allowed for myself to recognize on my last time out, what I didn't do, that I would rather do right this time out. You feel me? Giving it to you as it comes. Download after download after download. But guess what? I had to get to a point in life, and I'm still daily striving intentionally. I wake up and intentionally say, you know what? I'm going to be grateful. I don't even know what today has in store, but I do know it's going to be something that I'm going to be grateful for because I choose to be grateful. And after a while, you start seeing like, dang, hold on. Now I'm back self-reflecting on my way to the crib, or as I'm walking away from a situation, because sometimes, you know, you get to a point on your self-reflection, you just do this by default. Somebody say something crazy to you, and as you moving, because you on your progression, you got that tunnel vision towards progress, you feel me? And that shit ain't of progression. So you hear it, but you don't. Or you don't hear it like you used to the point when you hear it, it's like, Cherry, did that person say I need to show them my back, respect my back? And know that we ain't looking back? You trying to take me back somewhere where I was just at. You trying to take me somewhere I was just at. Love. And matter of fact, it ain't you trying to take me back somewhere I was just at. Let's interact what we said earlier. Let's look at it from our standpoint. Oh, this is just a reminder that I've come this far. This is just a reminder. You remember when you used to, be grateful. Rather than when you look back at your past, you regret. You look back at your past and you get depressed. Instead, you know, we can look forward to the future and not have fear because we didn't do certain things in the past that we know we should have did. And we know what the consequences of what we should have did not happening. Like, you know, you running out of food. Something simple, you feel me? You know, you running out of food, right? You was too tired last night to go out. So now, the consequence is when you wake up this morning, if you like eating breakfast, there ain't no breakfast to eat. You got to go out. And we have to pay for convenience, right? So that means you're going to pay a little extra in comparison to if you already had that breakfast that, you know, when you buy groceries, you can buy in bulk. You know what I'm saying? Or you get a little more for your bang for your buck. You know what I'm talking about? Versus when you don't prepare for the cupboards to be bare or for your, you know what I'm saying, resources to be out of stock. Do you hear me? It's the same thing with your spirit. Sometimes you gotta go in store. Go into the store. There's so many things that's in store for you when you take the time for you. When you take the time to recognize the beauty that is you, just by simply spending time with yourself. Like I said, you could be in a room full of people and still be alone. But you notice this because what? You're in tune enough with yourself to recognize everybody don't feel what I feel, ain't thinking about what I'm thinking about, ain't at the space to where they necessarily want what I want, how I want it. And even with that, y'all, never forget you have to surrender how you thought it was going to go for the flow of life. Because there's so many things that's flowing in your direction. And the more you learn about change, you recognize that it changed directions. Some things change in the direction they come to you. When I was playing sports, I used to have to, sometimes I would have to meet the ball. You feel me? Sometimes the ball would come directly where I'm at, hit me. Other times, the ball would be totally out of play and I got to get over there to it. You feel me? So sometimes you're being led, right? Sometimes things just download in you. Other times you got to create a door for it to come through. All right, let's dig back into that. When it comes to you being led, right? These are the things you already felt the intuition to do. When it comes to things just downloading, well, you already felt the intuition to do so, now you progress towards that. You make conscious choices to do so. You feel me? Or go in that direction. Whereas things that just download in you, right? This because the work you already been doing. And now certain things just start making sense. Certain things come as a consequence of what you did. Not necessarily in a negative or adverse effect, meaning what you want out of life is contradicted by the actions that you're taking. See, when you try to overthink shit, when you try to figure out how everything gonna go rather than just making the choice that you actually have to make, which is the choice of I'm gonna be grateful and I'm acknowledge all the things. All doesn't exclude nothing. All the things that I could be grateful for. Be grateful in all things. And then when I say certain things is out of play, right? Meaning things that you don't normally do. Ways that you don't normally move. Yeah, they gonna feel uncomfortable. Cause now you gotta get in play time. Now you gotta get in play. Now you gotta play your part. Play your part. Now you gotta figure out how to create or build a door where there once was no door. And a lot of times that requires you learning from other people. What did such and such do when they found themselves in a situation such as this? The beautiful thing is there's so many examples out here. For those who wonder what that might be, what's up with that panda? We're drinking a little chlorophyll. Again, when it comes to being out of play, meaning you don't see no way for things to turn out the way in which you know is the way that you should go. You gotta create a door. You gotta open some doors. Quick example I could give about that is opening the door would look like if I'm looking to, appreciate that, love. I'm looking to generate some income, right? I have to pay attention to what I do have to offer, right? And find avenues in which I can give. Find avenues in which I can give solutions to other people based on what I have to offer. And if you ever wonder what you have to offer, think of the solutions that you had to come up with from your experiences. Say that again. Think of the solutions that you had to come up with from your experiences. And know that you're not the only one that's going to experience that. You're not the only one that is experiencing that. Figure out the different ways that people do learn. You feel me? And go from there. Creating avenues for other people. That's what it means to open that door. Sometimes, you gotta do what you don't necessarily want to do. Like with me being an artist, I don't always want to organize things. I don't always want to organize things, so I have to step outside of my comfort zone, open the door within myself to allow for myself to express my purpose in different ways. Tap into your endless potential. Say that again. Don't limit yourself, but tap into your endless potential. As you are endless potential. Endless potential. And the way that we limit ourselves, we say, man, I ain't good at such and such. I don't like talking to... I just got an attitude problem. You know what we said? If I had $1 for every problem that I had or anything I was faced with, I'd be rich. Well, you got to be present enough to know that you have been faced with so much. Appreciate you, love. You have been faced with so much. Yet it didn't stop you. So you obviously found a solution to keep on going. I'm reminded of my father. Upon him and my mother separating and eventually divorcing, you know, I was always taught up until then that family was everything. Do you hear me? Family was everything. So when given the choice, right, of who I was gonna stay with, I chose my father, right? Only because me being the youngest, I was asked last, right? By the time the choice got to me, slick, the choice was already made for me. My elder siblings had already said they was gonna go with mama. So in order for family to stay together, or for family to be together, I had to make the choice that was obvious, right? To be with my father. Not to mention, they were my big dog. They were my superhero. You know what I'm talking about? I'm his mini-me. It was just so much, you know what I'm saying? Like I always tell y'all, when it's time to make a decision, it would seem like there is no other choice. It seemed like there is no other choice. And you might later find out that's not a decision that you want to keep making, right? Meaning it might not be right in the next situation for you to make that same decision, but it don't mean you made a wrong decision at the time that you did. It just mean in the next time of decision making, it just didn't fit. But when it seems like there is no other choice, you know, and a lot of times, you know, I ain't gonna leave no wiggle room, right? A lot of times we know what we should be doing, but yet and still we go consult with certain people that we feel like would do the opposite of what we know we should be doing, in the hopes that they would tell us to do the opposite of what we know we should be doing, kid. Only for them to turn around and they say the opposite of what they doing for themselves. You feel me? And then we start being like, man, I just knew you was gonna, in our heads, right? Because we don't want everybody to know. I just knew you was gonna tell me to do X, Y, Z. That's the reason why I came to you. So then when you lash out and finally do start speaking out, you be like, how you gonna tell me to do that when you, you usually do this? But I'm grateful for people in my life that wanted me to be better. People in my life that told me better. Told me the ways of progress. Told me the ways of growth. I'm reminded of a great man who once said, I'm gonna paraphrase, he said, I could have led him wrong, but I still chose to lead him right. And if you wondering if you leading people right, you know, because we all are leading in some way or another. You never know who's watching you, meaning somebody's always watching you. You feel me? Somebody's always watching you. Somebody's always catching a glimpse of your experience. Even in the slightest, you know? Somebody noticed how when you was asked a question, you had such disdain in your face. Appreciate that love, God. To the point, now you start seeing when your child is faced with certain questions or certain things, they have a level of disdain. Just saying, something to think about. We make it hard on those who come behind us. Sometimes by simply us not being willing to step outside our comfort zones. You know, the very thing that you're not willing to indulge in. On the other side of that is what you want so bad, what you desire. You know, people tend not to appreciate rainy days, but not recognizing on the other side of that rainy day, meaning if you can hold on, find understanding, seek understanding, right? That's the only way you're going to find it. On the other side of that is the sunshine. On the other side of that rain cloud is sunshine. To the point, even then you'll be able to appreciate that. But for a lot of us, it's like, about time. About time. Nobody owes you nothing means if you think that people owe you something, how could you actually appreciate when given something? But when you feel like nobody owes you nothing and you receive, again, we chose this existence, being part of the all in the spirit realm, being part of the all in the scientific sense, the atoms that make up this existence, this whole existence. At one point, we were just part of the atoms that make up where this existence came from. And this is a result of what it led to. But we chose to create this experience. The atoms, for those who are so scientific, chose to create this experience in order to be surprised. In order to be surprised. So sit back and enjoy your surprises. But the only way you're going to be able to enjoy them surprises is if you choose to be grateful. And that's such a beautiful story that we have chosen to anthropomorphize in the form of certain certain things that we have now created organized religions based off of. It's the same story, just positioned differently. You know what I'm saying? No matter who you ask, it's the same story represented in a different way. Just like you keep on getting a plethora of problems, they'll present itself. Knock, knock. Who is it? Another opportunity to acknowledge the greatness. Knock, knock. Who is it? Another chance for you to practice being grateful. Knock, knock. Who is it? Another chance for you to allow for yourself to be great. And again, I promise you guys, I wrote up a whole soliloquy or a conversation that I had planned to have with you guys about this topic. And I haven't touched my notebook not once. Not once. Yet, we have covered the basis of what was intended. So what are you preparing yourself for by the things that you're indulging in on a daily basis? What are you allowing for your eyes to see that you no longer remember later on when it come out in the form of an impulse or a knee-jerk reaction? Because all you have indulged in was things that will lead to you becoming maybe enraged because you're watching things that upset you. And now you're at your tipping point. Like, just imagine you watch things that upset you all day, right? And then the first time something happens in your real life, you at your tipping point already. You know what I'm saying? You at your tipping point already. When you operating in your purpose, meaning you're always working towards your purpose, you're always thinking from your purpose. Everything gets purposed towards that progression of such. Even people working your nerves again to be something that you like, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to work my nerves in a way that would be becoming for everybody involved. I'm grateful for another opportunity to allow for myself to be a conductor of energy. Let me say it this way, allow for this vessel to continue to conduct energy in a way that, should it be reciprocated back to me, I will be only reminded of the greatness that I must embody as well at all times. And I say must because that's what I want out of life. I want to be present in a way that exemplifies gratefulness. That allows for me to recognize greatness, which makes my life great. And so therefore I give thanks. Even when people seek to tear me down, don't acknowledge my efforts, skew my efforts into negativity, even still I say, you know what, thank you. Sometimes I might ask questions to try to understand, to even reason with a person, to, because I recognize there's a recordation being had, irregardless to us knowing, how they say ignorance is no excuse. So even if you don't understand that the things that you're doing are going to lead to a consequence in your life, guess what? It's still being recorded. It's still being recorded. You don't got to be in front of no phone. You don't got to be in front of nothing. But there's a recordation taking place within yourself. It's on the record what you chose to give your energy to. It's on the record what you would rather indulge in. And here it is, your subconscious will go forth creating a perception based on your perspective. And you will perceive life from that standpoint. That being said, family, I love you as myself. And it ain't nothing you can do about it. As we are one. And I'm so glad we in connection. Kinfolk. Now we see what it's talking about. Now that we see what it's talking about, because we chose to pull up a chair, come over here to the round table, where we just broke it all down. Say what? We just broke bread right now. Peace within, so it's peace that we giving out. And I know you about to have another lovely day. Cause look how we started it out.